one story I have always shied away from, because each time I talk about it, it's usually very emotional for me. Dad was crying unconsolably. My sister was crying and being heard. My brothers, both elder and younger ones, were crying. In fact, my um, immediate younger brother, my late brother, came to me and said, I needed money. I need to leave this house. And then I had to source money from wherever I could get money. I gave to him. My less than 1 year old brother was hungry and needed food. At that point, I knew I had become a mother. I knew I had to shoulder all of this responsibility. I was 17 then when my mother died. My dad was so emotionally broken. He had nursed her for days. She fell ill, and the illness took just 9 days before she passed. She was breastfeeding her last brother, who was less than a year at the time. And then she fell ill just within the week. I was in a boarding school. I happened to have an opportunity to go out for a rally, fellowship rally, fellowship of Christian students. And then along the line, I was so uncomfortable. I said, okay, let me just go home. I went home and discovered she was ill, and that said she has been ill for a few days. I said, okay, they had gone to the hospital and they had come back and all of that. So in my heart, was like, God, please just heal her. She was never sick. She usually does not fall ill. So as usual, I felt she was going to pull through that as well. There were so many stories around. There was a day they said she ran out of the house because she said bees were pursuing her. So, there were a lot of stories. Some said it's poison and all of that. And then a few days after I saw her, said she developed complications. I was in school, in the boarding school. I was so restless. I had to just get permission to go home. In fact, the hostel mistress was not around at the time. My friend got permission, and then I keyed into her permission, and we went home. So I was in XS3 at the time, and I was also the school head girl. I was a fellowship leader also. But I had to go home at that time because my mind was no longer at peace. I got home, got to the hospital. As soon as I saw my mom, I broke down. And as soon as she saw me from afar, she called out my name and she said, "Oh, we are all in white." I said, "What is this?" I got home that night. I cried my eyes out. My friend then that went home with me, she was just consoling me. I should just wait. She's just sick. She'll be fine. But deep down, I knew what I saw, and I was already, oh my God, I cried my eyes out that day. The next day in the morning, I went to the hospital. I came back to see if I can prepare meals for my siblings and my dad. I got back, and then I was just at home in the afternoon. Dad came back home, crying. God. I escorted him to his room, took him to his room. I boiled some water for him, took to the bathroom. He took his bath. I made tea for him. He drank, and then I told him to sleep. As at the time, then some elders came to the house and told him my mom was fine, that the doctor was that by the time my dad left, my mom was resuscitated, because my dad left as soon as he discovered the doctor was shaking his head. My dad he's also in the medical line. He's a community health extension worker. But when it comes to your loved one, you know how these things are. There is just so much you cannot bear. So he had to just come home, and then they came home and deceived him. He felt better. He took the tea. My siblings were also just coming back from church. My younger ones, I was making food for them. The food was almost ready when my elder brother came in the house crying so uncontrollably. Oh my God. My younger sister, my brothers, they all joined in and started crying. At that point, my late immediate younger brother came to me and he said he needed money. He needed to leave the house. Oh, in the heat of that pressure, I just went in, looked for money, gave to him, and he left. I didn't know where he was going. In fact, he himself didn't know where he was going because he told me by the time he went out, he didn't just know where he was going, but he knew he could not bear it. He needed to leave the house at the time. So he had to go to the village and was hoping he would get the news that mom was back to life. But that never happened. So at the time, everyone was crying. At that point, I couldn't cry because earlier, while she was ill, I cried my eyes out. At that point, I could not cry. Everyone was wondering, why is this lady not crying? The whole house was already filled up because she died on a Sunday afternoon. When people were closing from church, they had announced in the church, and almost everyone was going to visit her in the hospital when she died. So the whole crowd was in the house. A lot of people she has helped because she has a chemist that was very close to the house. She treats people sometimes on credit, people that do not have, and then some she treats them free of charge. So a lot of persons knew her and how she was good to them. So the house was so filled. Everyone was wondering why I was not crying. Some said she must have, strengthened my mind, all of those beliefs. So in the midst of all of the rowdiness, I was called upon that my kid brother was hungry. He was barely a year and he was breastfeeding at the time. I had to attend to him. I went to my neighbor's house because there was no space in the house to even do anything. The food I made, we couldn't eat. I went to my neighbor's house to boil water, and then I made pap for him, fed him. I got back. Everyone was still crying and all of that. I cannot even remember how we slept that night, but I remember the next day dad was still crying. So some elders came to me. I was like, hey, you need to talk to your dad. You are his wife now, you are their mother, you need to talk to him. So I went to meet my dad where he was. I spoke to him, and as soon as I was done speaking, he said, God, if my daughter can talk to me this way, then I am fine. I am no longer crying. And that was how my dad stopped crying. All arrangements were put in place, and then we traveled and buried her. When we got to the village, we discovered my brother was there. He said when he didn't see us for some time, he thought maybe mom had woken up, but she never did. It's over 13 years today, and I have played the role of a mother to my siblings, even to my dad, because I have to do everything she was doing. While she was alive, she taught me a lot from a very tender age. I could cater for the whole family. And so by the time she died, it was not so much of a stress to me, but I had to now take the lead. It was not like, okay, the food stuff is there, you can now cook. I have to think about what to cook. All thanks to my dad. He made a food timetable that was guiding us, and that made life so easy for me. I remember she died on the 9th of December 2017, and then we went for the burial, did all of that. By the time we got back, it was already close to Christmas. Usually that period used to be very exciting period for everyone. We go to the market with her. I had 5 brothers and a sister. We're 7. Today I have just 3 brothers left, and then my sister. So we the girls usually go with her to the market, and then the boys take care of the killing of the goats and all of that. But that year I had to go to the market with my sister, and by the time we're done with all of the shopping, we got back, I went into the kitchen, I looked at everything we got. I just I just broke down in tears. I cried that day. My sister was consoling me. She said, why are you doing this? Why now? You have been strong all this while. I said, Kai, this burden is really so much on me. I was 17. So we pulled through, and then school resumed. We needed to go to school. Who would take care of the little boy? We had to check around until we took him to my uncle's wife. God, thank God it was few months before the completion of my SSCE, and by the time I completed it and I went to pick my brother, as when I saw him I broke down. He was so thin. He was like a broom with all different kinds of rashes all over him. And I took him, cleaned him up. Within 2 weeks, he was back to his lively self. A lot of people thought he was my son. Up till this day, some think he is my son. Some still think he's my son. Because I was tired of explaining to people he is my brother. Because he was his immediate senior was 10 years before he was given birth to. He was given birth to when my parents thought they had already finalized everything about childbirth. Then he came. So you could see that he was really young. So a lot of people look at him and think, oh, he might just be my child. And that is how we have moved on up till now. God has been faithful to us. We have come a long way, and I am still playing the role of a mother to them. My elder brother will be getting married in December, and I am still playing the role of a mother. While we were all in school, I still play the role of a mother to them. They call me all the time, I need this, and even though I didn't have, I was also a student, I have to find a way, discuss with dad, and then we settle them. So that is how it has been in these 13 years. My kid brother, our last brother, has been with me. He just went to school now, and I have played this role for the past 13 years. A lot of people will be wondering, oh, she said she became a mother at 17. How come? For these 13 years, I have been a mother to them. Now I am married with my own family. I have 2 boys. I am still playing the role of a mother to them. I still caution, I still correct, I still support and do everything that a mother should do to her children to them. Even though I have my own biological children now, they still remain my very first kids. I still talk to my dad like a wife and a mother should talk. A wife should talk to her husband, and a mother should talk to her child. They are all my children, and they see me as a mother figure, even though I am very young. So talking about this is a big relief to me. It has really brought a huge relief to me, and I appreciate the strength and the grace so far. Thank you all for watching. This is where I'll be stopping. A lot of people believe that mom's death was not natural. Some think it was poison, but that is a mystery that we will understand someday. I hope that someday we will understand better. For now, we are thankful because she is resting. She was a perfect being, and she is resting perfectly right now and watching over us. So we are thankful, and I'm grateful to God for the life she lived and the life we now live. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you.